This is my review for the Laguna 1412 bandsaw. I will go over some specifications and then have my review at the end.
Hey guys, John from John's Woodwork. Today I'm going to do a little different thing today, and I'm going to review a tool of mine. Today I'll be reviewing the Laguna 1412 bandsaw, and I'll jump right into the review. First I'm going to go through some specifications of bandsaw. This bandsaw, even though it's 1412, has a throat of 13 5/8 and has a cast iron table, has table tilt to -7 degrees, which means you can tilt it towards the column 7 degrees, and 45 degrees regular way, and it has a regular miter slot like you'd have on your table saw, which is 3/8 by 3/4. Has a table height of 38 inches. The flywheel is cast iron. It has a 12-inch resaw capacity. The minimum blade length is 114 3/4, and the maximum is 116. And I normally get 115-inch blades. Maximum blade width is 3/4. Minimum is 1/8. The guides that come stocked on the saw are ceramic. This saw is really heavy, and it is in the package it's 275 pounds. Out of the package and all put together, it's 258 pounds. The two things that come optional with the saw are the Laguna work light, halogen work light, and the mobility kit. Start with the optional features. One of my favorite features of this saw is the optional work light. It is super bright. It is probably the brightest light I have in my shop, and I always see what I'm doing when I have this light on. I believe it's 100 halogen or something, or 100 lumen. I don't know. It's really bright, and I got it free with the saw because of a deal that the third-party supplier had a sale going on. And the other optional feature is the mobility kit. It has one side with a presser foot that you can press up, push it down. That saw pops up. There's two other wheels on the back, like my dust collection hose, that don't rotate, and it has a little screw so you can put it on the ground so it doesn't move once you get it stationary. There are holes preset in the base, so you don't have to do any drilling. When I first got my mobility kit, there's a back plate to the front pusher foot thing, and they did not give me that because it was a floor model. So make sure you have the back plate so you have something to actually screw into, because the holes that come stocked on the saw are not threaded. I would really recommend this light if you do not have a really bright shop like me, but otherwise I believe the light is like $100, which seems pricey. I got mine for free during a sale, so I love it. But I guess if you have that kind of money to throw around, you can do it, but I don't know, it's your decision. The mobility kit is really nice for me because I'm always moving my shop around. And if you have your shop all set up, you know how it's going to be for forever. I mean, great, that's great for you. You don't need a mobility kit. I think the mobility kit's $100 or $150. I didn't check the price on that. But the mobility kit is kind of hard to move, but it's definitely better than having 6 people try to lift it. I was exaggerating with 6 people. Me and my dad were able to lift it, but it's kind of hard to move without it. To tension the saw, you use these two levers, or these two knobs. There's one, and then there's that one for small incremental. But this is like to take this big lever is to take the tension off after each use, so you don't ruin your blades. To adjust the tracking of the saw, you use this knob, and then you can watch where your blade is through this window. Mine is directly centered. Some people like their blades directly centered, some like them hanging over the edge of the tire. For this big resaw blade, I like mine directly centered. To adjust the height of the riser thing, you crank this knob. When I got it, my knob was loose, but after I cranked it for a while, well, I mean, not by loose, but like the gears weren't aligning correctly. But after I cranked it for a while, it goes up and down very smoothly. After you find a good height for this riser, you can tighten that, and that acts as a set screw so this can't move up and down. When I first got my saw, this thing was tightened, and I couldn't adjust this, and then I tried to crank this really hard, and it ended up scratching that right there. So make sure you loosen this when you first set up your saw. The motor is down here, right next to a 4-inch dust collection port. To tilt the table, there are 2 levers. You pull this down and then you can turn it, and then this acts as kind of a socket wrench, except you have to pull it down each time. And it goes from 0 to 45, and there's another one on the back side too, so you have to adjust those at the same time. Put a blade on, you have to open the 2 doors. You take this metal angle iron thing with 2 slots cutting it off, you loosen those 2 knobs, and then undo this quick knob, and this door opens. To undo the top one, you just open that, and this door opens. To take the blade off, you open this. It's magnetic. You open that, and you take this little lever with a knob on it off. Then you take out this blue insert plate, which if you stick your hand on their bottom, it just pops out if you undo the screw right there, Phillips head. Speaking of this insert plate, then you adjust these with an Allen wrench, these 4 little screws in the front and back of the insert plate to level this perfectly with the tabletop. If this is not level perfectly with the tabletop, when you're pushing a piece of wood through, the edge will get caught in that, and you'll have to push harder and it'll mess up your cut. So make sure this is level with the tabletop. If it's too high, the cut won't be even. So just make sure this is level. It doesn't take that much. You can see the tension of the blade through this window. Right now I have it set on 3/4 because I have my resaw blade on. On the on and off switch, you pull it out to turn it on, and if you push this thing out, if you pull this yellow key out, safety switch, so when I pull this out, it doesn't turn on. Even though the green light is on, which means there's power to the saw, it won't turn on. My favorite features about this saw is this fence. It's adjustable for resawing and just regular rip cuts. I have it set in the high resaw setting right now. To change it to a different setting, you unloosen these 2 knobs right here, pull the fence out of this bar, slide it back in. There are 2 channels running down this fence. Slide it back in, and that is how you change the height of the fence. And the reason you can do this is why it's not just a really tall fence, is so you can brace pieces of wood against it for high resawing, and then for thin little strips you can lower your guide so you don't have a big portion of blade sticking out, so you don't cut your hand open. And like if this was the high resaw fence setting right now, the guide would not be able to be this low at this close to the blade. And to tighten the fence down, there's just this knob. Turn it, it sets against this bar. Now my overall thoughts about Laguna and this saw. The reason I bought this saw is because I went to my wood supplier and took a class on using a bandsaw. And the saw they used in that class was a Laguna. Now it was a higher end Laguna. There are 3 types of bandsaws I believe that Laguna makes. And this was probably the lowest of the end. So it's the lowest price, so that makes sense. This ran me about $1,100, and before you go say, oh, that kid's spoiled, he's rich, I did buy this with my own money. And before you go and say, oh, that kid's spoiled, he gets paid so much money, that was the first time I used my bank account to buy something. So I was very proud of myself. I bought this saw with my own money. Although I was not very, it's a saw, it works, but since I paid $1,100 for it, I think it should work perfectly flawless. Most of it's probably my error. So I've been taking classes on bandsaws online, and I've been reading the owner's manual. Always read your owner's manual before you operate your tools. Even if it's like a small tool, you don't just read your owner's manual. It helps. Okay, setting this bandsaw up was pretty difficult. It took me a couple days to figure out how to track the blade. I got really frustrated because the blade kept falling off when I would adjust the tracking, but you just got to do small increments and stick with it. You'll get it. Saw is very heavy, as I said before. It does wobble sometimes if you don't have the tracking set right, and when turning it off, it wobbles when it's like at its lowest cycle, but that doesn't really bother me. The dust collection is very, very good. It's probably one of the reasons we bought the saw is because the dust collection was so good. I have a Laguna dust collector, which my dad bought because he was sick and tired of all the dust in our house. And it does suck. There's a little plastic piece, which is only if you're using it without dust collection. And if you use it with a dust collector, it may suck that piece out of place. It did it to mine, and it might get torn up in the dust collector. It didn't, because on my Laguna dust collector, there is a piece that catches big debris when it enters the thing. But I called Laguna about it, and they responded very quickly. Like, it was an actual person, somebody who knew what they were talking about. It wasn't just some rando, I don't know, child answering the phones. So the part I probably don't like the most about this saw is the guides. They're ceramic. They spark every time the blade hits it. The next upgrade I'm making to the saw is I'm going to put cool blocks on it because I hate these so much. The blade doesn't bend and deflect that much, but it's annoying to have those sparks flying everywhere. And just, I would prefer to have wheels on it. Like the bandsaw bearing wheels, not these ceramic guides. And basically all the negative things I have to say about the saw. My favorite feature of the saw is the resaw capacity. I can resaw a 12-inch walnut with this cheapo 3/4 inch 3 TPI blade like nothing, like it's butter. I'm sure it would do the same to my hand, so be careful. But that's probably my favorite feature about the saw, the resaw capacity, because I do a lot of scroll work and I don't like planing wood down so like that much to waste all that beautiful wood, so I like to resaw it. And that's probably one of the main reasons I bought the saw instead of a smaller one. Downfall of the bigger saw, bigger blades, more expensive. The cheapo blades I buy are about $30 to $40. This resaw blade was $30. The one that Laguna wants you to buy, the carbide tip resaw blade, is like $200. So I didn't buy that since I'm kind of spent all my money on the saw. So, but I would like to have a 1/2-inch blade because you don't want a 1/2-inch blade is what you use for most things. Have your smaller blade, your bigger blade, and then keep your 1/2-inch blade on your saw. So basically all I have to say about the saw. So if you like this video and want to see more tool reviews or more projects, leave comments what you want me to do. Just like, subscribe, watch more videos. I don't know. Until next time, goodbye.